Patreon, going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episodes once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show of yesteryear. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there, so you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man with 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/realityt times 2, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on other tier, if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/realityt times 2. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/realityt times 2. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be doing the final episode of Perfect Match, covering episodes 7 and 8. So let's just jump into it, y'all. So yeah, we left off with Damari, or the last single had her high score with Damari. We actually didn't know who that was when we finished episode 6, but in episode 7, we do find out that was Kayla. So there you go. Russ like, can we just stop bringing her into the house? She has been flirting with my mans the entire time. I don't think she comes in with the best of energies. Girl, if you don't calm your tits. Marissa is like, someone kissed me and they think they knew it was me. I think that's what she said, and got into it more. Apparently that was Damari. So yeah. If Kayla does pick Damari, he'll be going on that date for sure. That is what he says. So here comes the singles to mix things up, of course. Jimmy's not feeling good about his shame being in the house, because we all know where this is going to head. Kayla and Damari are talking, and she says that she would be interested in seeing what could happen. He could be like her best friend. Allison asks Kayla, are you talking to anyone else? And she says, no, she's done this before. But she says about Yaman, saying, I know he's interested. Girl, no, he's not. Maybe before, yes, he was. But since he's been with Natalie, he's locked in with her. Like, it's not going to happen. So she does go to talk to him. And he says that he is enjoying his time with Natalie, as we know. He says, if I wasn't matched with Allison and she wasn't so locked in on Chris, it probably could have happened. Because again, if you remember, it feels like a long time ago, Yaman was matched with Allison. Kayla and Allison are friends. And then Kayla was zeroed in on Chris. So, he said he would go on a date, but but she is just worried about Damari because he is so locked in on Marissa. But Marissa is doing her thing with Weston. There is definitely major flirting between the two of them. But don't you kiss me. But clearly she wants him to. But anyways, the next day. And it's also Mercury has just entered Sagittarius, which means that things are about to get a little spicy. You take a guess who said that. Okay. Anyways, here comes Nick. Obviously to fuck shit up. It's time to pick the dates. Hashim picks Allie, as I've mentioned, obviously. And Jimmy's like, shit. Kayla picks Damari, no shocker there either. And Marissa's like, I do not want him to go on a date with Kayla. But then Weston picks her to go on a date, which again, no shock there. As Allie is leaving with Hashim, Jimmy is like, bye, honey. See you later. What? What? Jimmy, if you don't shut up. Hashim and Allie during their date are doing massages, but they do kiss. Then she doesn't know what bachata is, so he shows her bachata. And for her, she was showing her he wants to explore her versus Jimmy, who always wants to keep it open. So she's clearly balancing these two. Back at the house, new Jimmy is using Allison's leg as a turntable. Sure. Weston asks, like, what could I have done to get up, that 0.3 decimals? Because he was like 9.7. She says, cut the back of the mustache just a little bit, not too much, just a little. What she asks is like, what scares him? And he says, fear of not being remembered. That is deep. He doesn't want to live forever, but he wants to build something that will. Love that. For her, it's fear of failing. Is it fear of failing or fear of people seeing you fail? He asks. Well, damn. Sir, I would actually implore you to watch a little show I like to call Love is Blind. So, fear of failing, I'm going to say it's a little bit of both, okay? Because I hope she had therapy after the whole Ramses of it all. Because I do wonder if she kind of takes that as a failure on her part that it didn't work out with him when it's like, yeah, well, he was full of shit. But anyways, Damari loves animals and Kayla does have a family farm, so that has animals. He's like, you should have led with that. Or he says you should have led with that. Like, duh. But these two are definitely vibing with each other. She asks, do you see yourself switching? He's thinking about it, he says. He's thinking about it. Back at the house, though. This is when shit hits the fan. Damari and Kayla walk back into the house. Then Marissa and Weston come back in. We did tantric yoga, y'all. We can show you later. Yikes. Damari is not liking what could have happened between them, like Marissa and Weston. And then in walks Hashim and Allie. More shit to hit the fan. He's like, I know I gave her a massage, and New Jimmy is like, was there a happy ending at the end of that? If you don't get off my screen, ew. But what would you rate the date at, the same time? 10? What? Do you want to just fuck shit up? Anyways, Marissa and Weston say a 9.7 for their date. It was great, but for Marissa, it wasn't enough to turn her head. But notice she doesn't actually tell him that. She says it in the moment. Maybe it would have been nice that he knew that. Damari and Kayla are like 9, but there will be time for more conversations. And Marissa's like, what? Why do you need more conversations? You just had a whole date with her. Like, why do you need more conversations for? So Marissa and Damari are going to talk, but she is not in the mood for this shit, okay? Room for conversations? Why do you need room for conversations? You just had a whole date with her. Why do you need a whole another room of conversations? She's like, did you tell Kayla that you're matching with her tonight? And what's going on? He's like, nope, because I had to see what you did. But when trying to have the conversation, she does constantly interrupt him, which I do think triggers the fuck out of him because that's what Brie did. The problem though with her is not so much problem, I shouldn't say that, is she's ADHD. Her brain is going 1,000 miles a minute. And not only that, she then has to process what's happening. Her brain's overloaded. So, because your brain's overloaded and you already think faster than you speak. So, imagine when you have ADHD, shit. You know what I mean? So, she takes a break and she goes to talk to Sophie. And Sophie asks, does he know you have ADHD? And she says, yeah. So, he needs to be patient with her, which is true. I do think he does need to be patient with her. But let me continue. She says, Weston didn't complain that I was talking over him. Well, Weston ain't going to complain about it. Y'all on the honeymoon stage. He's trying to impress your ass. He ain't going to say, this too much, girl. I'm gonna need you to do something about that. So the Singles and Yemen and Natalie are talking about the dates. Hashim says, yeah, I kissed her. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Ali are talking. He's got to win his girl back, y'all. He's got to make sure she knows it ain't open no more. He says that I don't want you to think that because I'm being open to this experience doesn't mean I don't like you. But she does have reservations, and I think it's fair. I don't particularly like how she handles this, but I do get it. While everyone is getting better, they're plateauing. And he says, I get that, but I do see a future with you. Okay, but you're telling her now at the ninth hour. You know what I mean? He says that I will be upset if I'm not in your bed tonight. Well, get upset, my guy. He's like, I want to match with you right now. And she takes that and she says, this is what she has wanted to hear. And she kisses him. But who knows? She's not matching no one yet. So Jamar is going to go talk to Caleb, but Marissa is like, hey, babe, can we talk? She explains, or I guess he explains, like, she explains, me interrupting you and stopping myself may be bad for you, but it's progress for me. And again, ADHD. He says, I don't think it's just about that. And she says, I have ADHD. And he says, I don't like the sarcasm because she kind of says it in such a way, but who knows? Maybe it was sarcasm. It's like, okay, but it's a fact. I kind of need you to not be mad. But again, just because you do have ADHD does not mean he gets to be invalidated to validate you. He is allowed to be mad at you. He is allowed to be upset at the situation, ADHD or not. And he says that has to sound wild in your head, which I don't know if it does. I don't know if she's able to think like that. But he's like, well, she says, I process things differently, so probably not, which is, again, valid, fine. But you can't tell him how he shouldn't feel. Meanwhile, Weston's like, I gotta figure something else out. So he starts talking to Kayla because clearly that ain't gonna happen. And that catches Marissa's attention. And I think she just get upset and it's just like, God damn it. And Kayla wants to talk to Jamari, but him and Marissa have been yelling at each other all night, so probably not going to happen. So she talks to Allie about Jimmy. She likes him, but like, will she pick him up? Or sorry, will she pick him? Not pick him up. Will she pick him? And who knows? So she goes to talk to Hashim and she hugs him and she's feeling the pressure and she is vibing with both of them. We've established. Like, so I should just go home and then like you guys can match. Not the way this works. And I don't think these two straight men who probably can't handle, no homo, some shit like that, um, that ain't gonna work. And then she spills alcohol on him and then she kisses him and Jimmy can see it. I think she is drunk. Literally, I think she's drunk. Like, wow. But Jimmy's like, I thought I did the right thing, letting you go on a date. The fuck you say? Name of the game. Choose not to go on dates as you've gone on dates. Go fuck yourself. He's like, I just want someone to choose me. The fuck? She's been choosing you. You're the one that's like, oh, let's just be in an open relationship. Like you're fucking two. Like, but she's not choosing you. Sure, 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 sure. She goes to Sophie and Allison and she's crying. She's a mess. And Jimmy is going to her to see if she is okay. But she just wants someone to make a decision for her because she can't do it herself. She literally can't do it herself because she's drunk. So he says, I just want you to pick me up, and all this other stuff. And Sophie just starts laughing and says that I'm just going to go because this is awkward. Um, so, so sorry. Someone was going to do it, so they took one for the team. And Jimmy's like, that was rude. Anyways, Dave is loving how she just did that, and with that, they match. So new Jimmy and Allison match. Okay, guys, had to take a break there. So Damari goes right by Kayla and does not even say any word to her, which I thought was crazy. It's like, okay, I get you're mad. I get you're hyper focused on what's happening here with Marissa. But at the same time, you did take Kayla on a date that day for whom you seem to have wanted to go on a date with. You're supposed to be like best of friends, apparently. And you don't even like acknowledge her existence. You just literally go vroom and just go right past her. I thought, wow. And Kayla's not impressed by that either. So he then goes back to Kayla to talk to her and he asks for grace while he's dealing with this shit with Marissa. But Kayla is like, you're not married and you're not dating. So I have no empathy for this, which I I get it, but you don't have to be dating or be married to, respect a person's feelings, care about that person. Because again, like when you're in the beginning stages of dating, do you like, and you're not necessarily official, quote unquote, don't you not treat that relationship with some form of grace? Doesn't matter how long in you're in, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, you know what I mean? So I didn't quite agree with her comment there. But at the same time, I do understand what she's saying, which is like, you're not necessarily committed 100% to her. Clearly, if you were, you wouldn't have gone on a date with me, and then you completely ignore me right after the date when you promised a conversation what felt like 10 minutes ago, but it's probably been like at least 2 or 3 hours at this point. So I get it. So she tells him matching with her is completely off the table at this point because he hasn't even been concerned with her, so let it be. And I thought that was a powerful move, I'm not gonna lie. So she goes to talk to Weston and he's like, your date was good. Mine was good. So let's not wait for them because they're spiraling. So let me just chase you. So with that, y'all, they match. And it was at this moment that I'm like, is that allowed? There are two people who came into the house. Are they allowed to match with people? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in past seasons that wouldn't have been allowed because you're technically singles coming in trying to match with the quote unquote main group. So for me, it throws me off. But at the same time, I'm like, why shouldn't it be allowed? I've definitely always thought in the past, I'm like, if singles are coming in, they're not necessarily vibing with the people for whom were in the house originally, but they could be vibing with each other. Why not? Why can't they match? I actually liked it. As much as it threw me, I actually liked it. I thought it was way too late in the game, mind you. I feel like if you're gonna have something like that and really spice it up, have it happen like in the first few episodes. I think that would have thrown the house off. But like having it literally at the seventh episode, I think it was a little bit of disservice. Like literally seconds away from the choosing of the perfect match. So, anyways, um, yeah. So they match. They like okay, so I said that yeah, I said that, I already said all of that, so let's move on. Yeaman is fanning himself, but he's doing it from the elbow, because you're not supposed to do it from the elbow, you need to do from the wrist. It's literally the look of the flick of the wrist. That's what you need to be doing. You can't like yeah, okay. So Marissa talks to Damari about his issue about her interrupting him, which again we've talked about ADHD brain. And she doesn't want to match with him if that's how he's feeling, right? If you're so concerned about me interrupting you, and I don't mean to, and it's not like she's being vindictive about it. It's not like she's, like, trying to necessarily interrupt him. I can't give Marissa a lot, but I can give her grace when it's like her brain is wired to be that way, and there has to be some grace. Um, he says, "That's tough." Like, I just know how men are wired. I think was this Yemen? This might have been Yemen, but anyways, so they know how men are wired, and they don't wanna be disrespected. So, yeah, I think she was talking to Yemen. This wasn't Damari. He's like, "You might not be doing that, but it could be about the tone," which I will say she is interrupting and there is a tone, but again, you know, you're mad. You like, I deal with that too. It's like my point is and it happens to everybody. Your point is forming as the person is speaking. The difference is you have to have like I mentioned it, make a conscious effort to not let it overtake you to and again, happens with everybody, to overtake you and be like diarrhea of the mouth. Unfortunately, though, for people who have ADHD brains or ADD brains, really honestly, any neuro spicy brain, you sometimes can't help how your brain is processing a situation. So she's gonna go talk to him again. In the meantime, Aben and Natalie match. So Jimmy and Allie, because we have like two different things going on right now. Jimmy and Allie talk again, and he asks, "How can I give you what you need?" And she doesn't know where she's leaning. I think part of the problem is when you are drunky off your assy, you're not going to be able to make like a proper decision. Um, she's like, you wanted to be open, which is true. He did. But then Hashim comes over and he's like, "Can I have a conversation?" And I'm saying, "Boy, listen, I love the enthusiasm." But these are two people who have been locked in from day one, and they are allowed to have a conversation without you coming in like the bachelor and coming in and interrupting shit. You know what I mean? Or bachelorette in this case. So give it a minute. So Jimmy says as much. He's like, 5 minutes. Like, let me finish my conversation. But so he leaves and then he comes back again. And this time she goes to talk to him, which that pisses Jimmy off. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of pisses me off too. Because Yashim, not so much that I think like she owes anything to Jimmy, because he hasn't been fully with her in this, but it's more about Hashim for me. You're thirsty as fuck and it's gross. Okay, I can't deal with a thirsty man. And this is actually what's gonna happen. I have a little bit more respect for Jimmy than I thought I would. And because he's not being thirsty. He's more about like I think he's desperate, mind you, to not leave the house. I think it's a little bit more of that than it is about her. But I do think he cares about her. I don't think Hashim cares about her. I think he's just trying to, seal his deal in this house right now. And it's not like you're gonna win, sir. You just got here. So, um, so she goes to talk to him, but Jamie says, "No, I get this. I get this hard, and he's a good guy. So I will just make this easier for you and leave the house. So deuces." And the weirdest thing about this part is I don't know if it was like, I don't know what this was. If it was a vindictive response, if this is what she thought was going to happen, if she hoped for this to happen, and then what will happen later when we get to the next episode. I don't know. I can't explain it. But when he leaves or says he's leaving, Yashim hugs her and again, like, enables her behavior. Is like, "Oh, he ain't a real dude, whatever." And she has this weird type of smile on her face. It's the kind of how do I describe it for those who didn't watch it? It's kind of like a smile that you would see in a horror movie. It's kind of like the smile that you saw on Billy Loomis's face when we discovered that the blood was actually not blood, it was corn syrup. I'm just saying. It's what they made to make Pig's Blood and Carrie. I can tell that I've watched that movie way too much. Never too much. Anyways, Jimmy is feeling absolutely betrayed and he's hurt, but she's doing what he encouraged, leaning into the experience so he can't get mad about it. But unfortunately, he's clearly sad about it because he's like, it's not with me. And again, I scream, I'm like, my guy, you can't say open yourself up to this process and then get upset when she literally does it. Anyways, this is where Yashim says, oh, he threw it in your face and that was out of pocket. No, it wasn't out of pocket, but okay. He's like, it wasn't it. So, anyways, they match obviously. And she says, I was leaning more towards Hashim. Crazy how that's a thing. The heart wanted Jimmy, but the head wanted Hashim. Okay. She tells him something about the planets, you know how it is, and she's horny apparently, y'all. And we see them in the room. And I think this is where she says, like, I'm horny because the planets are aligned or some shit. I don't think, listen, if you want to believe in the planets and the universe and whatever, fine. But I think it's less about the planets and more about the time of your cycle that you're in. Just a thought. Just saying. Anyways, so yeah, they're in their room and something's going on. Something beneath the sheets. And she's like, poor Jimmy. More on that later. Okay. Oh my God, Marissa and Damari are still going. He says, the combos we have, I don't feel respected. I had a date with Kayla and I can't even talk to her because I'm dealing with your shit. But it's her always being wrong and him having no grace, which is true. At least the grace part. Then she's like, well, then call it. Call it. Call the time of death, call it. And she says, I do care and I do respect you. And she says, honestly, I don't like seeing you on dates and me on dates. And he says, okay, we have to learn how to talk through things then. Better communication. So they do match, but like it's the most saddest match of perfect match history. Okay. Um, but she does have doubts, and in the room she says that I will just leave tomorrow, and then she leaves the room. Like clearly the tension's still there, whatever, but we'll see kind of what happens. But it's the end of episode 7. We're gonna take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will jump in with the final episode of Perfect Match. Hi everyone. So I have a new product for you to take part in. This is for J Armor wallets. Now you can get these wallets for a pretty good price. Partially, it seems at this point, partially American made, but they're going to be planning to be completely American made by the year 2027. The fun part is that you can actually see what new wallet styles are going to be coming in 2026. So a little bit about the company. The company was founded by Jake Hernandez, who is also a part of the U.S. Air Force veteran, or he is a U.S. Air Force veteran. So with his business, he is also supporting charities like anti-child labor organizations, veteran support programs, and efforts to rebuild American manufacturing. So this is clearly something that is very important to him, and honestly, really important to me as well. And for going to the link in the show notes, which I will say what that link is in a minute, but going to the link in the show notes not only helps support this podcast, but is also helping to support J Armor as well as helping support the charities that he finds near and dear to him. So if you go to the show notes and you find that link, the link is jarmorwallets.com/reality times 2. So that is j-armorwallets.com/REALITEATIMESTWO. So I hope you go on and support not only me, but as well as this company. Now, that's enough of me. Let's go back to the episode. And I am back. So we're doing the final episode of Perfect Match, and I'm so excited. Okay, let's get to it. So we see Damari and Marissa talking about the changes needing to be made. This is the next day, but he wants to keep trying to get to know her, and she wants to keep going as well. She realizes I should have handled yesterday with grace, as should he. He should have too. So they're going to keep trying, and he says that she is the perfect match for him. That's kind of sweet, not gonna lie to Mari. Okay. We got the final compatibility challenge, y'all. It's called 50/50 2.0. This is pretty similar to what they did last season, where they had to like do 4 different stations, and whoever gets to the end first wins kind of thing. And one of those stations usually means that they got to eat some disgusting shit. Um, so yeah, each person has to pull their weight. There are 4 stations, like as I just mentioned, and each couple have to complete that. And you will get eliminated every step of the way. So, like, for example, if there, we'll kind of explain more, but if a if 3 couples move on to the next station, but there's still a couple lagging back, they've been eliminated. That's how it works. So we'll see how this goes. So they got to eat fried worms at one point. Ali and Hashim are eliminated at round 1, so they don't even make it because guess what, y'all? They don't know each other. So it's actually freaking poetic. So Kayla and Weston, and then Jimmy and Allison are only Jimmy, but actually, so we're gonna call him moving forward only Jimmy, and Allison are eliminated at round 2. Sophie and Dave, y'all, they win this challenge. It's pretty crazy. But then we are in the boardroom and we have Bree, our regular Jimmy, our OG Jimmy, and Chris on the board. They will be picking 2 of these people to come in, and they will pick who they will go on a date with immediately. Like the single will go pick who they're going to go on a date immediately upon entering the house. Straight up, Dave is like, I want Bree. He wants Bree and she wants Chris in. Here's what I say. I think that you want to fuck shit up, right? I think bringing Chris in to infiltrate and have like Kayla switch where she's gonna go isn't there's not a lot of stakes in that. Kayla has only been back in the house for a night, so there's not a lot of stakes in bringing Chris in. However, bringing in Bree to fuck shit up with Damari, there's bigger stakes there. And this is not just some girl that he was talking to in the house. This is his ex freaking girlfriend who he was with for a pretty long period of time. That fucks shit up. I'm 100% with Dave. Dave understands the game. Sophie doesn't. And there's no doubt Jimmy's coming in because he will too fuck shit up. So we go back to the house. We see that OG Jimmy, or just Jimmy at this point, because now, sorry, only Jimmy is now gone because OG Jimmy is back. So we have our Jimmy and then we have D Jimmy. We're back at it again. So he obviously picks Allie to go on his date because doy. And then we have Bree. Dave won and shit's gonna get fucked up. This was a better choice, as I think I've mentioned. She says, I want to pick Yemen, but I want to pick Hashim. But I have a conversation that needs to be finished, so I'm just gonna pick Damari, which my auto corrected to sashimi. Don't know who that is. Anyways, on their date, he brings up a podcast that she had done where she said that he had cheated on her. And he said, listen, I never cheated. I did a lot of shit, but cheating was not one of them. They do admit that they do miss each other, and he does still love her, and vice versa. So you're definitely thinking, damn, Marissa, you fucked girlfriend. On the other date with Allie and Jimmy, she tells him that you should have locked it down. Agreed, 100%. And he says that he wants to try again, but she doesn't know she wants to try again because she doesn't trust him. While at the house, while they're waiting for the others to come back, In walks Nick, which is clearly means just getting fucked up again. The daters are back in the house at this point. And as Nick tells us, we can only take 6 couples into the finale, which means someone has guts to go. Actually, I feel like there's no stakes in this whatsoever, but anyways, um, Damari and Allie have to pick their choice at this point, so who's it gonna be? So Damari, shocked to me, honestly, and shocked to Bree, he picks Marissa. And you can tell that Bree is a little fucked up by this choice. And with that, bad Brie, she leaves. And then Allie picks Jimmy. And I'm like, oh. So this is why I said what I said in the first half of the episode. I personally think that this girl knew what she was doing. She wanted to fuck with Jimmy a little bit, pick Hashim to fuck with him, knowing that there was a big possibility that he could come back, depending, because we still had one more challenge, one more boardroom. So I think she knew that there was a possibility that he could come back. And then he did with the intention that she was going to pick him. So she not only fucked with Jimmy, she also fucked with Hashim. Because Hashim was a little upset about the whole thing. Don't know why he's shocked. Well, maybe I do. We'll get to it. So I think, yeah, I think it was just, she's messy. So in the moment, Hashim says that we got intimate pretty quickly. So what does that mean? Did they have sex? Did they do things almost that led to sex, but didn't lead to sex? You know what I mean? Like, what does intimate mean to Hashim? And clearly he's giving the diplomatic answer here, but what did you do? I want the details. Anyways, it's tell-all time, y'all. Perfect Matches version of a tell-all. Kayla says that my booze may be fake, but I'm not. I should be sitting there with Chris, so I'm gonna go there. And she leaves freaking, what's his name again? Weston, that's it. Just sitting there looking like sad. Anyways, Mackenzie is like, so, were you not like talking to each other on Spotify, meaning Kayla and Chris? Which they don't deny that they were talking to each other on Spotify. The problem is that they were actually talking to each other while they've been filming the show. Apparently, when they are out of the house and they're back at the hotel, they actually lose cell phone privileges. And I almost wish if they lose cell phone privileges, but they have to they lose cell phone privileges, so they don't have their cell phones. And I guess they're given like these iPads that they can do, keep themselves entertained with. But it does disable any like form of communication type apps. So text messages, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything kind of like that. But another thing that maybe they didn't think about was Spotify. But apparently, they don't have Spotify privileges because you can't speak to somebody on Spotify. Somehow, some way, I don't know how, they got into their Spotify accounts and were able to talk to each other on Spotify. That is some crazy, innovative shit, and I actually have respect. So, and but yeah, they don't necessarily deny that that's what was happening. And she's like, so what if I was talking to him on Spotify? And I think there was also this other kind of idea that maybe they were talking to each other prior to being on the show, which again, honey, Mackenzie, hate to break it to you, but that's like not a crazy idea that happens. We see it all the time in shows like this. And they kind of say as much. So what? And we've seen it like for those people who watch BIP, Bachelor in Paradise. It happens all the time with those people that suspect they are going to be on BIP. They tend to talk to each other. They do kind of form some form of a relationship, whether friendship or otherwise, sometimes outside of the show. It can cause tension, but it does happen. What are you going to do? Can't control what people are doing when they're not filming the show. And then she says, oh, and then like, Kayla, you don't have a boyfriend? Because apparently Kayla is friends. Okay, this was very confusing. Kayla is friends with a person who has a brother and she apparently was dating the brother. And Mackenzie has a mutual friend of either the sister or the brother who told her that Kayla was in a relationship with somebody. I have a question. Why would they tell you that? Because here's my thing. I'm going to assume, maybe I'm being ignorant, but I'm going to assume that when casting for Perfect Match in that particular season, the cast members don't know that who else is going to be on the show. They don't find out till they're there. So then my question is, then when did you get this information? Did you get this information prior? Which if you did, so? And there's so many levels to that. Is she actually with the person, like exclusively? Or is she dating him casually? There's so many layers to that. It's not black and white if you found out prior. But I just again would question, like, why would you have found that out prior to being on the show if you don't know she's gonna be on the show? Because then my next question is, if you found that out while being on the show, while filming the show, and as far as we know, you do not have communication services allotted to you while filming, how did you find out? Oh, wait, was that an Allison? I don't even freaking know anymore. But whatever it is, who gives a shit? Um, but then we find out that new Jimmy and Allison had a pinky promise that they would match with each other. Again, so what? Because apparently Catherine was like, I wished that I had known that so that she didn't have to waste her time. I get it. I get that whole situation. Otherwise, you just knew. But on the other hand, they're allowed to do that. This is, again, like I said, given the same energy with what I said about, who was I saying it about? I think it was Cassie and Catherine. You got to keep with the energy that this is a game and this is the name of the game. There is a possibility that people are going to be like, no matter what happens, I am matching with you. And here's the thing is, I don't know if new Jimmy said this to anybody, but he definitely would say it later on that I'm locked in on Allison. So yeah, I'll go on the date with you, but I'm locked in on her. Go with that information as you so please. You know? Anyways, then Hashim drops the bomb. He says they had sex. Jimmy says that Ali said to him that they had only kissed. She says that she gave Hashim head for like a few seconds. Which is it? There is a difference between sex, that is penetration of the vagina and the penis, or the mouth too, if you so choose, but that's a little different. Anyways, that's that's different. Obviously, kissing is not the only thing that happened here. So she's lied. And then giving head is a completely different thing than having sex. Which is it? For a few seconds? Which is it? Like, who? Okay, I'm sorry. Who in their big age of whatever she is, I think she's in her, early to mid 20s. I mean, I'm 35, so I can't believe when I say I'm 35, I have to catch my breath a little bit. Because how did I get here? Anyways, I'm 35. And maybe I just think things a little differently of I'm not gonna give head for a few seconds. I'm gonna live in that for a minute or two or three or four or five, depending on my mood. Few seconds, I don't buy it. If she only gave him head, it was not for a few seconds. And then not to mention, she said she was horny. Let me say this. Let me break it down for everybody as women. Now, sometimes, yes, women can get off in some way by giving head, but really and truly, no. Because if you remember, she said the planets are aligned or some shit, and I'm horny, whatever. If she was horny, as she said she was, she's not going to settle for just giving him head. There is no satisfaction in that for us as women. There is no gratification for us as women. You can do that to start him off, but that ain't gonna be the only thing she's doing. I fully believe they had sex. Fully do. Or if it wasn't full out penetrational sex, that there was some heavy petting. Anyway, Dave, I thought, is the sweetest. He goes to hug her. Um, I think it was Allie. Was it Allie? Somebody. He was to go hug somebody, and she gets a little bit emotional. And I thought, Dave, he's so sweet. No, it was Mackenzie, because Mackenzie was talking about how they're perfect for each other. This all makes sense and blah blah blah. And she's getting emotional while saying it. And Dave just goes and hugs her, and I thought, he's so sweet. Of course, Bray brings up Damari saying he still loves her. Okay, he can still love you, but not love you enough to be back with you. But now it's the voting time. Everyone does their thing. We do find out, no shocker to anybody, that Kayla picks Allison because they're best friends and knew Jimmy. But the results are in, y'all. And guess who the winner is? I was not expecting it to go down this way. Sophie and Dave. I didn't know where it was going to go. But I definitely did not think it was gonna be Damari and Marissa. They're too freaking messy. But I thought it could have been easily Natalie and Yemen. So, but I thought it was crazy that it was Sophie and Dave. This was like her telling him, "Oh, you're a red flag, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just do this until we find something better." And then look how this turns out. I actually believe in them. I don't know where they're at yet. I am gonna do where are they now? But I'm just wow. Anyways, that is the end of episode 8. Um, gonna take a mini pause while I gather the information, and then we'll jump into Where Are They Now real quickly. All right, and I am back with Where Are They Now? Let's start with Yaman and Natalie. So, not together, y'all. So Yaman and Natalie started off as friends, but quickly decided to explore a romantic connection, as we know. However, Perfect Match was filmed 6 months ago, so November 2025, and a lot has changed since then. Yemen went on to film Love Island All Stars and is now dating Whitney, his connection from the show. Natalie told this Tudum that she and Yemen don't talk now, and they were friends. That's actually really sad. Adding, quote, "There's not necessarily any major bad blood, but we have no relationship." She also went on to date Chris, who she never matched with on the show. So we're about to find out. I want to find out what happened with Kayla. For about 3 months following filming, but is now single and enjoying life. I'm very curious to know what happened with Kayla. She went on to date Chris for a few months. Jimmy and Allie, surprise to absolutely fucking nobody, they're not together. Okay. Um, so Allie, okay, we're gonna not talk about all that stuff. So we want to know what happened. Okay, let's just say this. Allie rematched with Jimmy, as we know, ahead of the finale, and they left the show as a couple. And while they tried to make the long distance work with Jimmy visiting Allie in Los Angeles, they ended up splitting up. As Ali told Tudum, he had just moved to Miami, and remember, he's fresh out of the glow up, so he was having fun. I wasn't ready to really date either. I feel like it was one of those things where we knew, but we didn't want to admit it, and we did like each other. So that's that. Let's find out what happened between Chris and Kayla. I'm going to assume it's complicated, is the relationship status. So, just so we can talk about it a little bit, because it's been a little bit, so I'll just say this. Chris and Kayla genuinely seemed obsessed with each other, um, but everyone voted them off the show, as we know. They promised to stay together, but then Chris came back to the house solo in episode 5 and made out with Sophie, and Kayla ended up matching with Weston upon her return. However, Kayla ended up reuniting with Chris during the finale, where it was revealed by Mackenzie that the two were using Spotify to communicate which is apparently a thing. Yes, it is apparently a thing. Ali revealed to Tunham that, quote, Chris was dating Natalie, as we've just mentioned, and now he's dating Kayla again. So it seems like these two are maybe still going strong, so who knows what is complicated, and yike. But that's that. New Jimmy, and Allison. seeing where things go is the relationship status. So let's go to here. But so yeah, they did continue dating. According to Allison, they ended up pausing things for a bit with on and off communication around Thanksgiving because he had a difficult time adjusting back to real life post filming. But now they're back to exploring their connection without any pressure, labels, or expectations. She also added, quote, "We do care about each other a lot. We're figuring things out while not wanting to rush anything too fast. We fell hard pretty fast on the show and want to move forward at our own pace." So that's them, Damari and Marissa. I'm going to be, yep, not together. Not shocked. So, yeah, things didn't last long beyond the end, the filming of the show. As Marissa explained to Tatum, she and Damari, quote, both decided to leave the experience as friends. We spoke briefly afterward, but just left it as a friendship, appreciating the experience we had together. Oh, and another update. 4 months after filming wrapped, Marissa got married, y'all. Whoa! To someone else all entirely. In her Tatum interview, Marissa explained that she rekindled things with someone from her past. Apparently, the two dated over 13 years ago. And in March, I think I did see this. I think I saw that she got married. And in March 2026, they even tied the knot and are now planning a move to Japan together. That's cute. Dave and Sophie, not together. Um, so let me go past here. So yeah, once they left the villa, they found that the distance made things tough. Unfortunately, there is a whole wide ocean in between us, Sophie said. Lack of communication and effort resulted in us having a conversation to just remain friends. And that is the update. That is where they are now. This was a decent season. I liked some of the changes that happened um, with this particular season versus others, and keep up the good work. So moving forward, we're going to figure out like a main thing to focus on. But I'm going to be dropping episodes for 90 Day. I have 4 or 5? Yeah, 4 and 5 ready to go. So you'll be getting those soon. And then hopefully we'll be starting with Last Resort soon as well. 'Cause I know we're on like episode 4 now, I think. So I'll be kind of getting into that soon. But then we are going to be starting with another show, but I'll leave it until I can get done with the others, and then I'll announce what that will be soon enough. But yeah, that is it for me, and that is it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, bear with me because I have not done an outro for the podcast in quite some time. So bear with me here. So if you liked what you heard, you can go to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can follow, make sure you don't miss a single episode. And you can also rate the podcast at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be greatly appreciated. As a reminder, any 5-star ratings that are given to the podcast or any comments that are given to the podcast will be read on the podcast, which I have done in the past. If you want to connect with the podcast through social media, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram at realityt2. You can also find me at Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at realityt2pod. I believe you can email me at realityt2 at hotmail.com, and you can have any inquiries, anything like that, any ideas, any shows or episodes you want me to cover, you can definitely do that over there. And I am going back to our old website, and that is at solo.to/realityt2. There you can get any of the links to anything that I didn't mention here, any of the socials, website, email, all of that. It's all there for you. And we also have a new thing there where you can help support the podcast as well. It's called a tip jar. And you could tip whatever your heart's desire if you want to support the podcast, but don't want to necessarily support the podcast in going to Patreon, for example, or any of the links in any of the advertisements, you can do it there. But since we're on the topic of Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality tea times two, where there you can get access to even more than what I do here. There are 3 different tiers where you can get these shows ad free, as well as our next tier up where you would get um, another reality show that's being covered. So, we have Jersey Shore that's been getting covered. That's still being covered currently at the time of recording of this outro, but the future is bright with what's to come in the future, which I will be discussing, or I have discussed. I don't even know. And then also our next tier is a true crime tier as well. So you can definitely head over for that. But that is basically it. I will also just quickly mention here too, if you're interested in a different take of a podcast that I'm a part of, where we do things a little differently, you can head on over to Next Take Podcast, where I usually drop bonus episodes here on this feed, but there you get a lot more. And that podcast is making changes. We're growing, doing new things, but you can definitely head on over there if you want to just hear a little bit different than what I do over here. So you can find that podcast over at our website, solo.to/next take podcast. And there we'll have all the links to your desire that will link you to any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Social medias, it's all over there. But of course, you can still find that podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. But that is it for this episode. We'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everybody.